Evelyn Frost had always come across as cold and distant, but after getting drunk, she broke down in tears, saying she really liked me. She even pinned me down on the bed, and we ended up sleeping together. To deal with the family's relentless pressure, with no other choice, she had to rush into registering our marriage with me. No one in high society took me seriously. They secretly placed bets on when I'd get kicked out of the house. Then someone upped the ante even more, daring to wager I'd be dumped within a month. In the end, they lost everything. On the day I got the marriage certificate with the icy female CEO, who owned a fortune worth hundreds of billions, Evelyn Frost, the balance in my bank account was 350 yuan and 20 fen. In front of the Civil Affairs Bureau, she handed me a contract, along with a chili fountain pen. Sign it. During the marriage, I'll provide you with a place to live, and 50 yuan for monthly living expenses. But you can't interfere with any of my decisions. You can't make our relationship public, and you absolutely can't have any improper thoughts about me. Her voice was just like her personality, carrying a chill that made people want to keep 1,000 miles away. I took the contract without even glancing at it, and signed my name straight on the last page. Jason Rivers. Evelyn Frost's eyebrows furrowed slightly. She seemed a bit surprised by my nonchalant attitude. Aren't you going to read the terms? No need. I handed the pen back to her. After all, we'll end up divorcing eventually, right? She probably had never seen a freeloader as straightforward as me, so she was momentarily speechless. With a cold expression, she took an envelope from her assistant's hand. This is this month's living expenses, along with the villa key and access card. I took the envelope, felt its thickness. Then, right in front of her, I pulled out 20 yuan and gave it to an elderly lady standing nearby, who was sweating profusely because her phone was dead and she couldn't scan the code to take the bus. Here, take this and catch the bus. The old lady thanked me profusely and laughed. Evelyn Frost and her assistant Travis Chen, 4 eyes stared right at me. I shook the remaining money in my hand and flashed her what I thought was a very sincere smile. Pleasure doing business. The wealthy lady Evelyn Frost's face turned completely dark. She said nothing, turned around, and walked away. She got into the black Bentley and sped off into the distance, as if staying even one more second would taint her with the stench of poverty from me. Assistant Travis Chen stayed behind. He pushed up his gold-rimmed glasses. With a scrutinizing gaze, mixed with a warning, he said to me, "Mr. Rivers, Miss Frost has a tough personality. I hope you'll behave yourself and stay in line. Don't do anything unnecessary. Especially don't go out causing trouble using Miss Frost's name. Otherwise, the contract could be terminated at any time." I nodded. Got it? Your boss is my meal ticket. I know the rules. Travis Chen must have been choked by my shamelessly casual expression. He couldn't speak for a long while. In the end, he just gave me a complicated look, then called a car, and left. I stood there alone, tossing the keychain in my hand, then looking at the money in the envelope again. Actually, I originally didn't want to get involved with Evelyn Frost at all. 3 days ago, I was kicked out by my shady landlord because I refused his unreasonable demand to raise the rent by 50%. I dragged my suitcase wandering the streets, found a small bar to drink away my sorrows. I was figuring out whether to sleep under a bridge or just crash at a 24-hour internet cafe for the night. And then I met Evelyn Frost. She had clearly drunk too much, occupying an entire table by herself, with empty wine bottles scattered in front of her. On that captivating face, there was a fragility I'd never seen before, along with a sense of loneliness. I recognized her. The familiar face on the covers of finance magazines. The head of Evergreen Capital, Evelyn Frost. A waiter tried to clear the table, but she coldly shooed him away. Seeing a girl like that wasn't safe. So, out of kindness, I walked over and asked, "Hey beautiful, need any help? Let me call a driver for you." She lifted her teary eyes and stared at me for a long time. She looked at me for a very long time, then suddenly grabbed my wrist tightly. Her hand was very cold, but her grip was strong. She looked a bit like that person. The corner of her eyebrow twitched slightly. She said something, then passed out, unconscious. What could I do? I couldn't just leave. Such a stunning beauty completely wasted in a bar. I rummaged through her bag, trying to find contact info for her family. In the end, I only found an ID card and a set of car keys. With no other option, I used the few hundred yuan in cash left in her bag to book a nearby hotel room so she could rest properly. And then, what happened the next morning? I woke up on the big hotel bed. Lying next to me was Evelyn Frost, full of shock and rage. The events that followed were straight out of a soap opera. She saw me as a scoundrel taking advantage of the situation. The murderous intent and disgust in her eyes almost wanted to chop me into pieces. I tried to explain it, but she wouldn't listen at all. Just when I thought she'd call the police or have someone throw me in jail, she got a phone call. I don't know who was on the other end. Their tone was very domineering, basically pressuring her to do something. After hanging up, she stared at me, as if making a major decision. "What's your name?" "Jason Rivers." "Do you have a job?" "Not at the moment." "Short on money?" "Yes." "Fine. Let's get married." At that moment, I thought I was still dreaming. Later, I learned her grandfather was using inheritance rights to force her, making her marry within a month. And her archenemy was her ambitious uncle eyeing the chairman's seat, just waiting to see her make a fool of herself. Marrying me was the quickest choice, and the most reluctant one in a pinchy. Someone like me with no power, no background, wouldn't threaten her position, and was easy to control. Once the storm passed, she could just kick me out. And I happened to be the perfect candidate. I needed a place to stay, needed some money to get by, until I found a new way to make a living, while she needed a husband to deal with her family. Mutually beneficial. So we sealed the deal. That was the start of our story. A ridiculously absurd beginning. Evelyn Frost's villa was in the wealthiest neighborhood, the most expensive in the city, backed by mountains and facing a river, with extremely tight security. I found it, using the address. Just the 2 stone lions at the gate. Were more expensive than the old apartment complex I used to live in. I swiped the card, entered the password to get inside. The living room was spacious and open, with soaring ceilings, cool-toned furnishings. Everything was just like Evelyn Frost herself, elegant and expensive, but lacking any human warmth. I wandered around and discovered this 3-story villa. Beyond the essential furniture, had almost no signs of life. The kitchen was so spotless you could see your reflection. The fridge only had a few bottles of mineral water and an expired carton of milk. It seemed this female CEO really didn't know how to enjoy life. I chose a south-facing guest room on the 2nd floor to stay in noon. It wasn't big, but still much better than my previous rental. For the next few days, Evelyn Frost didn't come home. I was free and easy, sleeping in every day until I woke naturally, then using the living expenses she gave me to go to the nearby traditional market to buy food. Yes, the old school market. I had turned down Travis Chen's offer to order everything online for me, from daily necessities to groceries, and insisted on going myself. Seeing the fresh shrimp and fish jumping around, the bunches of vegetables still dusted with soil, and hearing the vendor's energetic calls. That's when I felt like I was living in the real world. I used the most ordinary ingredients to cook meals for myself. Braised spring bamboo shoots, sweet and sour ribs, steamed sea bass. For one person, it wasn't much, but I liked to make it a bit lavish. Whatever I couldn't finish, I'd store in the fridge. A week later, Evelyn Frost finally came back. She returned late at night, bringing exhaustion and the heavy scent of alcohol. Her high heels were kicked off haphazardly at the entrance. Her whole body collapsed onto the sofa. She didn't even bother turning on the lights. I happened to come out of the kitchen, carrying a bowl of freshly made snow fungus and pear soup. We looked at each other in the darkness. She clearly didn't expect anyone to be home. Her voice carried a hint of wariness. "I live here." I placed the bowl of soup on the coffee table in front of her. "Forgotten already?" She fell silent, probably remembering our ridiculous marriage. "What's this?" She looked at the steaming bowl of soup. "It's good for the lungs. You don't look so great." As I spoke, I turned on the living room lights. Under the light, her makeup was slightly smudged, but it still couldn't hide that stunning beauty and the arrogance ingrained in her bone. She looked at the soup, then at me, her eyes complicated. "Did you make this? Who else? Is there a third person in this house?" She said nothing more, and didn't touch the soup. She stood up, staggering toward the stairs. At the foot of the stairs, she suddenly turned back, and coldly dropped a line. "Throw this stuff away. I don't like the smell of cooking oil in the house." With that, her figure disappeared around the corner of the stairs. I looked at the soup I'd simmered for over an hour, and shrugged lightly. "Fine, don't try to guess a rich lady's thoughts." I picked up the bowl, and drank it all myself. It tasted pretty good, actually. The next morning when I woke up, Evelyn Frost was already gone. On the dining table was a note, in her bold, flowing handwriting. "Party tonight. Pick me up at Summit Club at 8 a.m. with an address attached. I looked at the note and felt a slight headache. This meant I had to dress up properly, to play the role of a proper CEO's spouse. Wait, no, CEO's husband. I opened the closet. Inside were all my old clothes. T-shirts and jeans washed to faded colors. Looks like I had to do some spending. I took the card Evelyn Frost gave me, and went to the city's most upscale mall. The price of one item here was enough to cover my rent for a whole year. I had no concept of brands, just purely based on style. In the end, I chose a set of dark gray suit that looked quite subdued. At checkout, the saleswoman looked at the card in my hand, then at me, her eyes showing a subtle scrutiny. She probably felt my vibe didn't match this unlimited black card at all. "Sir, this is the cufflinks and tie we've prepared as a complimentary gift for you." The saleswoman was very professional. With a measured smile, I thanked her and carried the bag out of the mall. At 7:30 p.m., I arrived right on time at the entrance of Summit Club. This place was filled with luxury cars, bustling with the elite. My outfit wasn't cheap, but blending into the crowd, I still looked like an ordinary guy who wandered in by mistake. I called Evelyn Frost. Soon after, she came out from inside. She had changed into a long wine-red dress, accentuating her snow-white skin with an aura that soared. As soon as she appeared, she became the center of attention. She walked straight up to me, appraising me from head to toe. "Not bad." She dropped 2 words as her review, then casually linked her arm with mine. Her arm was very cold, her body a bit rigid. I could sense she wasn't used to physical contact like this with others. "Remember, talk less, smile more and stick close to me." She whispered instructions in my ear, her tone just like assigning a task before. I nodded. "Got it." We walked into the banquet hall together. As soon as we entered, I felt countless eyes like spotlights shining directly on us. Some curious, some astonished, some contemptuous, others gleeful. I even heard from not far away the whispers of some rich young ladies. Is that Evelyn Frost's husband? He looks so ordinary. I heard he's just a pretty boy freeloader. I don't know what Evelyn Frost was thinking, picking a guy like that. I heard in high society they've started betting, wagering on when she'll kick him out. I bet a month. 100 yuan? A month is too long. I bet a week. I kept the smile on my face, my gaze unwavering, as if I heard nothing. Evelyn Frost's body grew even more rigid. I could feel her hand on my arm, her nails almost digging into my flesh. Don't tense up, I whispered. If you squeeze any harder, my arm's done full. She paused for a moment, then released her hand like she'd been shocked. She took a deep breath, regaining her icy queen demeanor, picked up a glass of champagne, and started mingling with those around, while I became a silent accessory, always smiling by her side. The host of the party was an old man with silver hair, but still very sharp-minded. The Lamberts, a respected senior in the business world. Evelyn Frost led me over to greet him. Grandpa Lambert. Evelyn Frost's tone rarely carried a touch of respect and warmth. Elder Lambert chuckled as he looked at her. Then his eyes landed on me. Evelyn, who's this? His name is Jason Rivers. My husband. Evelyn Frost clearly hesitated a bit when introducing me. A flash of surprise crossed Elder Lambert's eyes, but it quickly turned into a kind smile. Good. This young man has quite the presence. He patted my shoulder. Young man, our Evelyn has been competitive since she was little, with a cold personality too. From now on, be tolerant and take good care of her, all right? I nodded. Yes, that's what I should do. Just then, an untimely voice rang out. Isn't this my good little niece? When did you get married? Why didn't you tell your uncle? A man around 50, with a beer belly full of fat, approached. Beside him was a young woman dressed flashy. Evelyn Frost's uncle, Quentin Frost, also her biggest competitor in the company. Evelyn Frost saw him. Her eyes immediately turned ice cold. Uncle, my personal matters don't require your concern. Quentin Frost chuckled. His eyes scanned me up and down without restraint. That look was like eyeing a commodity about to be auctioned. This must be my nephew-in-law, right? Where do you work? This question was tricky. Everyone knew I was just a freeloader. He asked to embarrass me in front of the crowd. Evelyn Frost's expression grew even uglier. I smiled, intending to answer before she could. I don't have any title. I'm unemployed, staying at home, completely relying on my wife to support me. I answered completely casually, with utter confidence. The whole room fell dead silent. Everyone looked at me, with eyes like they were staring at an idiot. They probably had never seen anyone admit to being a freeloader in such a transcendent way. Quentin Frost was stunned, too. All the sarcasm he'd prepared was blocked by my words. His face flushed red. After half a day, he forced out, "This nephew-in-law is really honest. What can I say? My skills don't allow for modesty." I continued smiling. Feed? Bueno. I think I heard someone unable to hold back a laugh. Quentin Frost's face turned liver-colored. The woman beside him, probably wanting to salvage some face for her lover, coquettishly spoke up. Mr. Rivers is quite the joker. But you know, for men, it's still better to have your own career. Not like our Quentin, busy day and night with company matters. It breaks my heart. As she spoke, she deliberately flaunted the massive diamond-encrusted watch, huge and blinding on her wrist. I followed her hand, then let out a questioning sound. Ma'am, your watch Seems a bit off, doesn't it? The woman was taken aback. How could that be? This is a limited edition Patek Philippe. Quentin just brought it back from Switzerland for me last month. Is that so? I stepped closer to inspect it. But from what I know, the tourbillon in this model should have a fixed rotation speed per minute. Yours seems to be running a few tenths of a second fast, though it's hard to notice with the naked eye. Over time, the error will grow larger. I said it with an extremely serious expression, making her and Quentin Frost's faces change. People around started gathering, curiously watching. What nonsense! What do you know about watches? The woman was a bit guilty. I really don't know much, I calmly admitted, but I'm quite sensitive to mechanical precision. Occupational hazard. Aren't you unemployed? Quentin Frost immediately countered. I used to repair watches before. I blurted out a lie. Actually, I know nothing about machinery. The reason I knew that watch was problematic was because I'd read an introduction in an American magazine. The editor of that magazine was a watch fanatic. He wrote a long analysis, dissecting the movement's structure in detail, and incidentally mocking the super fake high-end replicas on the market. And the one on this lady's wrist was exactly the top-tier fake mentioned in that article. They say its error compared to the real thing is minimal. Only top appraisers can spot it. I didn't expect to catch it today. My words made the atmosphere extremely awkward. Elda Lamba stepped in to mediate. All right. It's just a small matter. Quentin, you two don't make things hard for the young ones. Quentin Frost's face was ashen. He dragged his mistress away in disgrace. Before leaving, he shot me a resentful glare. I knew this grudge was now set in stone. After the storm, Evelyn Frost pulled me to a quiet corner. The way she looked at me, for the first time, had something beyond scrutiny. Do you really know how to repair watches? A little, I continued, lying without batting an eye. She was silent for a while, then abruptly asked, "Why did you help me?" Help you? I was briefly stunned, then laughed. I'm not helping you. I'm helping myself. Your uncle embarrassing me is embarrassing you. Once you're embarrassed, if you get unhappy and cut my living expenses, what then? What would I do? I'm just protecting my rice bowl. I analyzed the logic clearly and thoroughly. Evelyn Frost's expression returned to its usual coldness. So, that's it. You're quite clear-headed. She said that, and turned to leave, leaving me standing there dazed. I watched her back, gently touching my nose. For some reason, I felt like she seemed a bit unhappy. The climax of the party was the charity auction. The items up for bid were collections, donated by celebrities. All proceeds would go to education for children in remote areas. Evelyn Frost, as representative of the Evergreen Foundation, naturally had to show some support. She had donated a painting by a famous artist. The bidding process was intensely competitive. Evelyn Frost raised her paddle a few times symbolically. I wasn't very interested in these things. My full attention was on the desserts on the table. The flavor was average. The cream, too cloying. The sugar overload. Just as I was bored, giving professional critiques on the sweets, a special auction item was brought up. It was an old, aged set of kitchen tools, including several knives of different sizes, a cast iron pan, and a wooden cutting board. Starting bid was 10,000 yuan. This set, amid a pile of glittering jewels, looked truly out of place. The host introduced. This was a family heirloom of Elder Lambert. Rumor had it his ancestors were chefs in the imperial kitchen. As soon as he finished, the audience below erupted in murmurs. Why would Elder Lambert bring this out? Who would spend money on an old kitchen set? The atmosphere grew a bit subdued. To save Elder Lambert from embarrassment, someone raised symbolically 15, 0 to 20, 0. The price crept up slowly. Just then, Evelyn Frost, beside me, suddenly tapped my arm lightly. "Go bid on that kitchen set," she whispered. I was stunned. Showing respect to the Lambert family is the right thing. But if our company bids on a kitchen set, it won't sound good if word gets out. You bid personally. It fits perfectly with your house husband setup. She analyzed it clearly. I got it. Another tool roll. Fine. I raised my paddle. 100-0. As soon as I spoke, all eyes in the hall turned to me. From Quentin Frost's side came an undisguised snort of laughter. Truly low class, not fit for the table. Such different tastes. I didn't bother with him. A pot-bellied guy next to him raised too. 110-0. He was Quentin Frost's lackey. It seemed they were determined to oppose me. 200-0? I raised again. 210-0 do wa. 500-0. I had no time to increment bit by bit with them. The whole hall buzzed. Spending 500-0 yuan on a pile of scrap metal. Everyone thought I was crazy. Evelyn Frost frowned too. She whispered in my ear, "Jason Rivers, don't mess around, just put on a show." I know. But your uncle is provoking us. If we back down now, you'll be the one losing face. Evelyn Frost fell silent. Quentin Frost's side clearly didn't expect such a high bid. Hesitated a moment, then still raised. 510. He bid through gritted teeth. 1 million. I casually threw out the final price. This time even Evelyn Frost gasped. She gripped my hand tightly, lowering her voice. "Jason Rivers, are you insane? It's just a kitchen set. Trust me." I gave her a reassuring look. Quentin Frost's face turned purple. 1 million yuan wasn't a big sum for him. But spending 1 million on this, word getting out would make him the laughingstock of high society. He glared at me fiercely, finally lowered his paddle. 1 million once. 1 million twice. 1 million 3 times sold. The gavel struck. I successfully acquired the old kitchen set for the sky-high price of 1 million yuan. In an instant, I became the center of the hall. Or rather, the joke. Is this pretty boy an idiot? 1 million yuan for a pandewei. Evelyn Frost's face is green. Ha ha. There's going to be a good show. I bet. Tonight, he'll be thrown out the door. I could feel Evelyn Frost's hand on my arm, cold as a block of ice. I knew she was truly angry. On the way back to the villa from the auction, the pressure in the car was terrifyingly low. Jason Rivers, Evelyn Frost finally spoke, her voice devoid of any warmth. "Do you feel a great sense of accomplishment spending my money?" "That's not your money," I said. "That card is mine now. So it's my money I'm spending." She must have been so angered by my divine logic that she laughed. "Fine. Very fine. Spending 1 million yuan on a pile of scrap. Jason Rivers, you've successfully refreshed my perception of you. That's not scrap." I looked out the window, watching the scenery rush by, and said calmly, "Then what is it? Made of gold." Her sarcastic tone was overflowing. That knife set was hand-forged by a descendant of Master Bladesmith from the Republic era. Only 3 sets in total. 1 in a museum. 1 lost to history. I didn't expect the 3rd to be in Elder Lambert's hands. That pot was cast from cloud iron using the Heavenly Forge method. 1-piece casting. Super fast heat conduction. Even heating the technique is lost now. And that cutting board is made from the core of golden silk wood, soaked in pine oil for 49 days, then dried. 81 days to complete. Chopping food without dulling the knife, and it carries a unique aura. I rambled on endlessly like counting family treasures. This knowledge all came from ancient books left by my master. My master was an old man obsessively meticulous in both eating and cooking. He taught me all his culinary skills. And also, those dragon-slaying skills that outsiders see as useless. Evelyn Frost fell silent after hearing me. The atmosphere in the car shifted subtly. "How do you know all this?" she asked. "Didn't I already say? Occupational hazard." I stuck to that excuse. She didn't ask more, just tilted her head to look out the window. Not sure what she was thinking. Back at the villa, she went straight upstairs without a word. I took out that expensive cooking set, carefully cleaned it, then applied preserving oil. Seeing them shine with ancient luster under the light again, I felt immensely satisfied. This $1,000,000 was well spent. The next day, while I was using my new treasure to experiment with a new dish, Assistant Travis Chen arrived. He brought news I didn't expect. At last night's party, a French 3 Michelin star chef offered 5 million yuan on the spot to buy back my cooking set, but I refused. Then he had someone contact Evelyn Frost, raising it to 10 million yuan. Evelyn Frost told me to decide myself. This news spread quickly in high society. Jason Rivers, the fool everyone mocked, overnight became a mysterious tycoon with an eye for value. Those young ladies who bet yesterday on when I'd get kicked out of the house now looked at me completely differently. Oh my God, I didn't expect him to be so knowledgeable about this. Using $1 million to buy a treasure worth 10 million. That eye is terrifying. Could he not be a kept man, but a hidden master wandering the world? Public opinion flipped instantly, and the mastermind was me, wearing an apron, standing in the kitchen staring at a fish. When Evelyn Frost came home from work, I was just serving the last dish. 4 dishes and 1 soup, 2 meat, 2 veggie, full of color, aroma, and flavor. She stared at the table, stunned. "Did you make this? Who else?" I took off the apron and scooped her a bowl of rice. She hesitated a moment, but still sat down. She picked up chopsticks and took a bite of sweet and sour ribs. Then her movements froze. Those eyes, usually calm as a still lake, for the first time showed surprise. "Not good?" I asked. She said nothing, took another bite of greens. Then, the soup. She ate this meal in unusual silence. But the bowl of rice in front of her was empty. This was the first time she ate at home since I moved in. After eating, she sat on the sofa. She watched me washing dishes in the kitchen, her eyes full of complexity. "That French chef is still contacting me," I hummed. "Still scrubbing the pot. He's raised it to 15 million yuan. Not selling. Why? I'm used to it now," I answered matter-of-factly. Evelyn Frost was silent, speaking after a long time, her voice a bit hoarse. "Jason Rivers. What kind of person are you, really?" I dried the last bowl and put it away, turned around to look at my legal wife, an unemployed guy living off his wife. I grinned in response. She looked at me, the scrutiny and confusion in her eyes growing deeper. I knew my identity had become a big question mark in her mind, and I quite enjoyed this feeling. The relationship between me and Evelyn Frost had subtle changes thanks to those meals. She started coming home for dinner more often, though she never said it outright. But I knew she really liked the dishes I cooked. Every time I made something new, she would always eat a few extra bites. She was still as quiet as ever, but no longer as prickly and defensive as before. One time she came back very late, her face full of exhaustion. I cooked her a bowl of hot yang chun noodles, added a soft-boiled egg, sprinkled with some fresh green scallions. She quietly ate it all, then said to me, "Thank you." This was the first time she thanked me. I was a bit flattered and surprised. "You're welcome," I said, deduct the noodle cost from my living expenses. Her expression that had just softened a bit immediately turned icy cold again. Sometimes I felt I really had a talent for pissing people off to death. That day was the weekend. It was rare for me to wake up so early to tend to the flower beds and plants that I had planted myself in the yard. Evelyn Frost also rarely didn't go to the company. She wore casual home clothes, sitting on the rattan chair on the balcony, sipping coffee while reviewing documents. The warm sunlight bathed her, making her lose a few edges of sharpness and adding a touch of gentleness. We were one upstairs, one in the yard below, not bothering each other but harmoniously in sync. Just then, the doorbell rang. I went to open the door. Standing at the door was a middle-aged woman, dressed elegantly, her face full of arrogance. Behind her was a young girl, looking quite timid. "Are you Jason Rivers?" The woman used a scrutinizing gaze, sweeping me from head to toe. "Yes, that's me. And you are?" "I'm Lydia Hayes, Evelyn Frost's mother." My heart skipped a beat. So the mother-in-law had arrived, and from her appearance, clearly an uninvited guest. Lydia Hayes didn't even bother to acknowledge me. She walked straight into the living room, seeing Evelyn Frost on the second-floor balcony. Her eyebrows immediately furrowed tightly. "Evelyn Frost, look at yourself, what a disgrace. On the weekend, you don't know to come home to visit your mother. Instead, you're clinging to this good-for-nothing man, mixing with trash." Her voice was shrill and venomous. Evelyn Frost set down her documents, came down from upstairs. "Why are you here?" Her voice returned to its cold tone. "If I didn't come, then the Frost family's face would be completely smeared by you." Lydia Hayes pointed at me. "Is this the husband you chose? A pretty boy who doesn't even have a job. Are you crazy? My matters don't need your management." "I won't manage. You were born from me. How could I abandon you? I'm telling you, you must divorce him immediately. Then get engaged to the young master of the Zhang family for me." Lydia Hayes pointed to the girl standing behind her. "This is the Zhang family's heiress, Natalie Zhang. She came here today to see the Mrs. Frost who stole her fiancé position. What kind of person she really is." Only then did it dawn on me. So, the blind date Evelyn Frost rejected was actually this Miss Zhang's fiancé. This time I was seen as a rival by others. The girl named Natalie Zhang kept her head down, not daring to look at Evelyn Frost. "Mom, I've said my marriage is my own decision." Evelyn Frost's voice was firm. "Your own decision. Your own decision. And you picked this kind of person? What can he give you? Can he help you stand firm in the company? Besides spending your money, what else can he do?" All of Lydia Hayes's firepower was aimed straight at me. I remained silent, just quietly watching her perform, waiting until she was tired of talking. I slowly spoke. "Auntie, are you done?" Lydia Hayes paused, clearly not expecting me to talk back. "If you're done, would you like a sip of water to soothe your throat? I just brewed a pot of Longjing tea, using 80-degree water. The third infusion tastes the best." I pointed to the teapot on the table. Lydia Hayes's face immediately turned beet red like pig liver. She probably saw my casual expression as the ultimate provocation. "You little brat." She was so angry she couldn't speak. "Mom!" Evelyn Frost stood in front of me. "If you keep this up, please leave." "Fine, very fine, Evelyn Frost. For this man, you don't even want your mother anymore?" Lydia Hayes angrily shouted. "Today, I leave these words. If he's here, I'm not. If I'm here, he's not." With that, she dragged Natalie Zhang away in a huff. The comedic drama ended just like that. The living room returned to quiet. Evelyn Frost and I looked at each other without speaking. "Sorry." She spoke first. "My mother is that kind of person." "It's fine." I shrugged. Her fighting spirit was weaker than I imagined. She gave me a complicated look. "Aren't you angry?" "Angry? About what?" "She called you a pretty boy." I laughed. She spoke the truth. I really don't have a job. And I really am spending your money. What do I have to be angry about? Evelyn Frost fell silent again. She seemed always awkward in the face of my nonchalance. "Jason Rivers," she suddenly said, "thank you. This time I didn't mess around." I looked at her seriously and replied, "No need to thank me. After all, we're in the same boat now." She was stunned. Then, the corner of her mouth seemed to curve up slightly, in an arc, almost imperceptible. That was the first time I saw her smile, though very faint, but it was indeed a smile. The surprise attack from the mother-in-law was like a pebble, stirring the calm lake between us, creating ripples. From that day on, Evelyn Frost came home earlier and earlier. Sometimes, she even brought work home to handle. She sat on the living room sofa typing on her computer. I curled up on the single sofa beside her, watching my food documentaries, neither saying a word to the other. But the atmosphere carried an indescribable peace. Travis Chen came more frequently too, each time looking at me with eyes full of admiration mixed with sympathy. The admiration was probably for my brilliant performances. The sympathy, perhaps, because he thought this CEO's husband was living a bit too oppressed. For example, he witnessed firsthand me accidentally messing up the order of a stack of important documents of Evelyn Frost's, and getting coldly punished by her to wash dishes for a whole week. He didn't know that stack of documents was deliberately messed up by me, because I discovered in the data a fatal logical error. But with Evelyn Frost's personality, if I pointed it out directly, she absolutely wouldn't accept it. I could only use this clumsy way to remind her. Sure enough, when she reorganized the documents, she discovered that error. Avoiding a major investment mistake, she said nothing. But that night at dinner, she ate an extra bowl. Or like the time he saw Evelyn Frost raging at a partner over the phone after hanging up. The pressure in the whole villa dropped to freezing, while I just quietly handed her a glass of warm water, then turned down the TV volume. She had no idea that partner was actually a trap set by Quentin Frost. I'd heard rumors early on, from a friend in the culinary world, that the partner was really just a shell company, specializing in investment scams. I'd accidentally left the files my friend sent on Evelyn Frost's desk. She saw them all, and that's what led to that phone battle. Travis Chen only saw her domineering authority and cold violence toward me. He thought I was living the life of a little wife enduring all grievances. So every time he came, he'd sneakily slip me some treats, sometimes imported chocolate, sometimes limited edition cookies. "Mr. Rivers, you've worked hard. This is a small token from me." He put on a face full of sorrow. I looked at the snacks in his hand and couldn't help but laugh and cry. "Assistant Chen, are you misunderstanding something about me?" "No, no way." He just stuffed them into my hand. "I get it. You're bearing all the humiliations for Ms. Frost. Rest assured, I'll definitely keep your secret." I watched his departing back, feeling like his habit of overthinking seemed to have gotten worse. The relationship between me and Evelyn Frost gradually blossomed in this strange atmosphere between us. There was a bit of tacit understanding that outsiders couldn't fathom. For example, in the morning I placed beside her coffee cup a mint candy, meaning there was a trap in her schedule today. In the evening when she returned, if she placed her briefcase on the left side of the entrance, it meant everything at the company was fine. But if on the right, it meant she was in trouble. These signals only we two understood. We were like two undercover agents, using the simplest methods to convey the most crucial information. And all this in others' eyes, was just a bland married life, even a bit confining. The bets in high society about me were still going on. The 1-month deadline to be kicked out of the house had long passed. The bookies had lost quite a bit. Now a new bet had started, wagering on when we'd divorce. The highest odds were within a year. When I heard Travis Chen tell these stories, I was busy watering the tomato plants in the yard. "Mr. Rivers, don't mind them. They're all just jealous of you." Travis Chen comforted me. I just smiled without saying anything. In my mind, I was only thinking, once these tomatoes ripen, making scrambled eggs with tomatoes. Evelyn Frost would surely like it. Those peaceful days were shattered by an unexpected crisis. Evergreen, the overseas acquisition deal the group had prepared for, was snatched by a competitor at the last minute, and the puppet master behind it was Quentin Frost. When the news came, Evelyn Frost was sitting eating with me. She took the call. Her face immediately turned pale. She said nothing, put down her chopsticks, and rushed straight to the study. That night, the study light stayed on all night. The next morning when I woke up, she was already gone. On the dining table, her breakfast portion was still untouched. I knew this time it was big trouble. Travis Chen called me, his voice anxious to the point of tears. "Mr. Rivers, big trouble. The acquisition failed. The company's stock plummeted. On the board side, Quentin Frost has allied with several other shareholders, demanding to remove Ms. Frost." I know. My voice remained very calm. "You? Do you have any ideas?" Travis Chen, on the other end, almost saw me as a savior. "Let me think." I hung up, sat on the sofa looking out the window. This move by Quentin Frost was really vicious. He intended to pull the rug out, sweeping Evelyn Frost out of Evergreen Capital. Evelyn Frost, though capable, was still young after all. Her foundation, not solid. Facing this pincer attack from inside and out, she'd have a hard time holding on. I had to help her. I took out my phone, found a contact I hadn't called in a long time. The call connected. The other end came a lazy voice. "Hello, who is it? Don't you know? Disturbing someone's sleep is very rude." "Fatty, it's me." "Ow. Damn, bro Rivers, you bastard. How long have you been missing? I thought you got abducted by aliens for research." The voice on the other end immediately got excited. Fatty was my old buddy, a top-notch computer hacker. "Cut the crap. Help me with something. Just say it. Through fire and water, no problem. Investigate someone for me, and a company too." I gave him Quentin Frost's name, and that competing company. "Piece of cake results in half an hour." Fatty agreed readily. Half an hour later, my inbox received a set of documents, detailed to a frightening degree. Inside, not only evidence of secret collusion between Quentin Frost and that company, including email contents, transaction flows, even a recording of Quentin Frost bragging about plotting to harm Evelyn Frost at a private club. I looked at these documents and smiled. Fatty's work was reliable as always. "Bro Rivers, this old guy is no good at all. Need me to publicize those study materials in his computer?" Fatty chuckled mischievously on the phone. "No need," I said. "Why use a cleaver to kill a chicken? This is enough." "All right, but Bro Rivers, when are you coming back?" The little shop, our master left. "The guys can't hold on much longer without you in the kitchen. Those picky old foodies come to wreck the place every day. Soon." I hung up, forwarded the documents to Travis Chen's inbox, then sent him a message. "Send this anonymously to all shareholders." After doing all that, I stepped into the kitchen, started preparing dinner. Tonight, I had to make a really lavish meal for Evelyn Frost, and for myself too. Evelyn Frost came home late at night. She looked even more haggard than the past few days. Her eyes, bloodshot. She saw me and paused a bit, then noticed the table full of food. Eat. I pressed her into the chair, scooped her a bowl of black chicken soup. She looked at me, her lips moving, as if to say something, but in the end stayed silent. She quietly drank the soup, bowl after bowl. I knew today she must have gone through a fierce battle. "How's the board?" I asked. She set down the bowl, looked at me, her eyes carrying post-crisis fatigue and a bit of undisguised glee. Quentin Frost was taken away by the police. Someone sent evidence of his embezzlement and commercial bribery to all shareholders, and reported to the police too. As she said this, her eyes kept staring at me. "Is that so?" "Serves him right. What goes around, comes around." I expressionlessly picked a rib and put it in her bowl. "Jason Rivers." She suddenly called my name. "It was you, right?" I put on an innocent face. "I'm just a house cook. How could I have such great abilities? Besides you, I can't think of anyone else." Her voice was utterly certain. "You're not an ordinary chef, nor a mediocre watch repairman. Who are you really?" This was the nth time she asked me this. I looked at her, knowing this time I probably couldn't brush it off. I sighed. "Put down my chopsticks." "All right, I'm coming clean." Evelyn Frost sat up straight, her expression serious, like a prisoner awaiting sentence. I cleared my throat, using a deep, melancholic tone to narrate. "Well, actually, I'm the descendant of a fallen noble family. My family was once immensely wealthy, but due to a earth-shaking conspiracy, it all vanished overnight. I carry a blood debt as deep as the sea, forced to hide my identity and wander here, just waiting for the day I can rise again, to reclaim all that belongs to me." I acted so deeply it was touching. After Evelyn Frost heard it, she looked at me blankly, silent for a full half-minute. Then she picked up her chopsticks, took the rib I just put in her bowl, put it in her mouth. She chewed the rib and said in a muffled voice, "Then, good luck. This audience sucks." No face given at all. The meal ended in that atmosphere, both awkward and weird. After eating, she didn't go to the study or bedroom as usual, but sat on the sofa watching me wash dishes. "Jason Rivers." She spoke again. Thank you. "Don't mention it. That North City project, though, snatched away. But I secured another one much better." "Is that so? Congratulations." "The person in charge of that project specifically wants to meet our company's mysterious advisor." "Mysterious advisor?" I was stunned. "Who?" "The one with the sharp eye, who spent 1 million yuan to buy a billion-worth treasure, and can produce ironclad evidence at the critical moment. To turn the tide." She looked at me, emphasizing each word. The plate in my hand almost slipped. "He wants to meet me?" "Yes. 10 a.m. tomorrow, at the company." "I'm not going." I immediately refused. "You have to go." Her voice allowed no negotiation. "This project is extremely important to me. What would I say if I go? Tell them I'm actually just a cook. You can continue fabricating your story about being a noble descendant," she said with an expressionless face. I felt like I just dug a massive pit for myself. The next day, I was still escorted by Evelyn Frost to the company. This was my first time at Evergreen Capital. The whole building was theirs. Extremely grand. Evelyn Frost's office was on the top floor, with an amazing view, overlooking more than half the city. I was arranged to wait in the lounge of the office, while Evelyn Frost went to a meeting. Bored, I wandered around a bit. Her office was as clean and tidy as the house. Not a speck of dust. The bookshelf was filled with professional books. I casually pulled one out and flipped through, full of financial terms I couldn't understand. On the bottom shelf, I discovered a photo frame face down. Curious, I picked it up and flipped it over. In the photo was a young man, smiling brightly, wearing cool racing gear. leaning against a motorcycle. His features resembled mine by 70 or 80%. I was stunned. Just then, the office door was pushed open. Evelyn Frost walked in. She saw the photo in my hand. Her face immediately changed. She strode over, snatched the photo away, and placed it face down back on the shelf. "Who allowed you to rummage through my things?" Her voice became colder than ever. "Get out!" She pointed to the door, her voice carrying a tremble. I looked at her, for the first time seeing on her face. I saw emotions other than coldness and fatigue. It was sorrow, a deep, bottomless sadness. I didn't argue with her, quietly walked out of the office. The moment the door closed, I seemed to hear from inside a choked sob. My heart suddenly tightened inexplicably. Who was that guy? Why did Evelyn Frost hide his photo so carefully? Why did he look so much like me? Questions kept swirling in my mind. I sat in the reception area outside for a long time. Travis Chen brought me a cup of coffee. "Mr. Rivers, don't take it to heart. Miss Frost, she didn't mean it." He spoke cautiously. "Assistant Chen." I looked at him. "Who's the person in the photo?" Travis Chen's face changed. He hesitated. "Mr. Rivers, this is Miss Frost's private matter. He's my brother." A cold voice came from behind. I turned around, saw Evelyn Frost standing there. Her eyes were slightly red and swollen, but she had regained her usual calm. She walked over and sat in front of me. "His name is Ethan Frost, my twin brother. 3 years ago, he died in a racing accident." Her voice was very flat, as if telling someone else's story, but I could sense that with every word she spoke, her heart was bleeding. "You look a lot like him. The first time I saw you at the bar, I thought I was seeing things. Finally, I understood. Understood why after getting drunk, she grabbed my hand and said I looked like him. Understood why she chose me, a complete stranger, to be her husband. So from the beginning, I was just a substitute for her to reminisce about her brother. This realization was like a bucket of ice water dumped on my head, making me chilled to the bone. So the report we'd had all this time, and those faint warmths, were all just my own wishful thinking. She was good to me, perhaps only because I had a face like her brother's. I looked at her, my voice a bit hoarse. "Everything you've done for me, was it all because of him?" Evelyn Frost looked at me, without answering. Her silence was the clearest answer. "The project manager has arrived." She changed the subject. "Prepare to meet him." She stood up, becoming once again the lofty, icy queen, as if the fragile, sorrowful woman just now was merely my illusion. I still sat in place, feeling a bitter choke in my chest. So I was the biggest joke after all. The project manager was a very elegant French man named Pierre. As soon as he saw me, his eyes lit up. "My God, it really is you!" He excitedly stepped forward to give me a hug. I instinctively dodged. He didn't feel awkward at all, but enthusiastically grabbed my hand. "I've admired your name for so long, Mr. Nobody." I was stunned. So were Evelyn Frost and Travis Chen. Mr. Nobody is the world's most mysterious food critic and chef. Rumors say the dishes you make let one taste heaven. They say you've never shown your face in public. Your identity forever a mystery. Countless big shots and Michelin restaurants see all want to invite you out, but all in vain. Evelyn Frost had been preparing for a high-end culinary project lately. Her biggest goal was to find this Mr. Nobody to invite as advisor. She never dreamed the person she'd searched so hard for was sleeping in the room next door. You're Mr. Nobody." Travis Chen stammered, his eyes about to pop out. I looked at Pierre, then at Evelyn Frost. I decided to continue the act. You've got the wrong person. Impossible. Pierre was very moved. 3 years ago at a private dinner in Rome, I was fortunate to taste the clear water white vegetable made by your own hand. That flavor, I'll never forget in this lifetime. Just now, downstairs, I smelled a special aroma in your coffee. That's the scent only from top-grade Blue Mountain coffee beans, roasted and ground with a special technique. Exactly like the coffee I drank 3 years ago. I'd forgotten French noses are sharper than dogs. Pierre even pointed to my hands. Your hands show clear joints, slender fingers, not a bit of excess fat, nails trimmed impeccably neat. The perfect hands for holding a knife. I absolutely can't be wrong. I looked at my hands. Speechless, he could tell from this. Evelyn Frost's gaze also fell on my hands. Her eyes went from calm to doubtful, then finally to realization. She remembered the chrysanthemum knife set I'd auctioned, remembered the dishes. That mesmerized her endlessly. Remembered my bluffs about ingredients and cooking skills. All clues at this moment, strung together. The truth exposed. I looked at her. She looked at me. The air between us seemed to freeze. All right, I sighed, giving up resistance. I am, Travis Chen gasped, almost fainting on the spot. Evelyn Frost's body swayed slightly. She looked at me, her eyes complex like raging waves. There was shock, anger, grievance, and a trace of emotion I couldn't understand. She must have felt I'd deceived her. A complete scam from start to finish. She thought she'd found a husband she could mold at will, a cheap substitute. But the one she brought home was a great god even she couldn't afford to hire. This plot twist was more thrilling than any business battle. Pierre ignored the undercurrents between us. He excitedly pulled my hand, started discussing project cooperation details. I was stuck with him. Couldn't shake him off. Had to respond, perfunctorily. My eyes kept glancing at Evelyn Frost. She just stood there quietly, not saying a word. Her face pale. I knew, between me and her, the thin paper window had been completely pierced, and what awaited us ahead was unknown to all. After the meeting with Pierre ended, Evelyn Frost silently returned to her office, leaving me alone in the reception area. I knew she was waiting for my explanation. I stepped into her office. She had her back to me, standing before the huge floor-to-ceiling window, looking at the bustling traffic outside. You deceived me from the start, she spoke. Her voice, very light, but heavy as 1,000 pounds. I didn't. I never said who I was, nor who I wasn't. It was all your and others' assumptions. So, you stood on the sidelines, watching me smugly think I was smart like a clown, witnessing me treat you like a useless person needing my charity. Her voice now carried a tremble. I didn't. I walked to her side, standing shoulder to shoulder with her. I just wanted to live peaceful days. I told her my own story. I was born into a culinary family, forced to learn cooking from a young age. I had great talent, but because of that, lost my freedom. I hated the feeling of being pursued by countless people, yet unable to eat a peaceful meal. So I ran away. I hid my identity, wanting to be the most ordinary person. Meeting her was a coincidence. Marrying her was unexpected. But moving into her house, cooking for her, watching her clean her plate of my food, was the happiest thing for me all this time. I admit at first, I stayed, just for a place to crash. I glanced at her profile, but later I realized, cooking for you seemed quite fun. You look so appetizing when you eat. Evelyn Frost's body trembled slightly, imperceptibly. As for your brother, I paused. I'm sorry, but I'm not him. I'm Jason Rivers. She was silent for a long time, so long I thought she wouldn't speak again. Is the contract still valid? She suddenly asked. What contract? Our marriage contract. I was stunned, then burst out laughing. You mean that? I used it to prop up the table leg ages ago. She turned her head to look at me. In those cold eyes, something seemed to be melting. Jason Rivers, she said, I'm hungry. What do you want to eat? Anything you cook. I looked at her, suddenly feeling this woman wasn't so detestable after all. On the way home together, I got a call from Travis Chen. He told me in a dreamy tone, the betting pool in high society on when you two would divorce has collapsed because the bookie ran away. Rumor has it, before fleeing, he left a message. Damn, these two are getting more stubborn. I give up. I hung up, glanced at Evelyn Frost beside me. She was leaning her head against the window looking outside, the corner of her mouth faintly smiling. The sunlight on her face was so warm. Perhaps continuing this ridiculous marriage wasn't bad. At least, every day someone waits for me to come home for dinner. Side story. Half a year later, the top floor of Evergreen Capital, Evelyn Frost looked at the latest financial report, her brows tightly furrowed. The new culinary business segment, thanks to Jason Rivers' mysterious advisor Halo, had exploded nationwide. Profits scarily high, but she wasn't happy, because Jason Rivers lately was obsessed with fishing. Hadn't come home to cook for 3 days. She picked up the phone to call Jason Rivers. Jason Rivers, when are you coming back? On my way, on my way. On the other end, Jason Rivers's voice was a bit guilty. I saw your social circle. Evelyn Frost said coldly, you're in the Maldives. The other end went silent for a moment. Well, the grouper here has firm flesh. I give you 1 hour. Evelyn Frost interrupted. Appear before me. Otherwise, I'll publicize your Mr. Nobody identity to the world. The other end erupted in Jason Rivers's wailing cries. Evelyn Frost hung up. The corner of her mouth curved into a victorious smile. Now, she discovered, threatening others was such a joyful thing, especially threatening the one you love.